Hello and welcome to your advanced stress relief with the emphasis on the head, neck, and jaw. This class is great for people who tend to hold tension in their jaw by clenching or grinding their teeth, maybe that sense of being tight through the upper shoulders, or even if you struggle with TMJ, there's going to be some really nice therapeutic things we do throughout class today to help release some of that stress and pressure within the body. You don't need much today. A set of blocks and a set of myofascial release balls. If you don't have two myofascial release balls, tennis or lacrosse balls also work really well. And then I also, if your balls are not conjoined, I just have a sock to conjoin them for a really nice neck release towards the end. When we look at specifically the jaw and the tension we hold there, it's really good to look downstream and upstream. So although our focus will be to release through this area around the chin and the jaw, we're also going to want to release throughout the neck and throughout the back of the head as well, just to kind of get the whole system and area to unwind. So that being said, go ahead and just meet me in a comfortable seat, perhaps Sukhasana, easy seat. If it feels more comfortable to sit up against a wall to release your back, feel free to do that as well. I just have a blanket underneath my sit bones to give me a little bit of lift. But we're going to begin with some really gentle and slow neck circles. So I want you to do the slowest neck circles you've ever done and allow this to really be a nice way to be more introspective and to really fall within and to notice if you do hold tension in the neck or the shoulders. So to begin, just let your right ear fall toward your right shoulder. If it feels comfortable in your space to close the eyes, that can always be really helpful to eliminate extra distractions. Or feel free just to soften the gaze downward. Now from here, we're slowly just going to let the head roll down towards the chest. So really take your time. Notice how that feels to the back of the neck. If there's any points as you move slowly here that feel extra tight or tender, that might be a sign of the body just letting you know this is where it's holding on to some stress, to some tension. Might be something we want to focus on to release throughout class today. Eventually finding left ear to left shoulder. And if it feels okay on the cervical spine, let the head circle back around. But if that compression through the back of the cervical spine doesn't feel good, feel free just to stay to the front of the body, moving right to left in a half circle. Again, we're moving really slowly here. We're going to do about 3 or 4. Really let the head hang as the chin falls towards the chest. As you transition side to side, notice how the sides of the neck feel. Eventually, we're going to be releasing through the sides of the neck, specifically the SCM and the scalenes, which you don't need to worry about unless you're really interested in anatomy, but just the sides of the neck and their connection with the head and the collarbones, the head and the neck. These areas that, if they're really tight, can also pull against the chin and the jaw region, so inviting in more tension. We're already struggling with being a grinder or a clencher of the jaw. As you keep moving through these very slow neck circles, I also invite you to bring some awareness to the breath. One of the most powerful modalities we ever have is the breath. It can bring us into the present moment. Often, if we're battling with chronic or acute pain too, just laying down or sitting and just breathing can be so potent to dealing with that as well. Next time you work your way back to the right, let's just change the direction. Notice too here if there's any shifts. Maybe the neck or shoulders started really tight, really tense. Now maybe you're noticing they're loosening up a little bit, especially as you breathe. And try to avoid that pull to speed this up. Let it be long, slow, luxurious. Decompressing throughout the entire neck. knowing there's absolutely no rush. Take your time. And then release, let your head come back up through center. And just pause here and take a couple of deep breaths. Again, just noticing how the neck, how the shoulders feel. And now we're going to move into some mild fascial release for the neck. So for this, we're actually just going to use our hands. You slightly turn your head towards the right and just take like your index finger and your thumb and kind of squeeze along the side of the neck. You'll probably feel this kind of like ropey muscle that attaches from the head all the way down to the clavicle or the collarbone. So kind of coming down at an angle, and that's the SCM. So we're going to want to just gently release that. So that's all we're going to kind of do is this gentle pinching. But as you can tell, we don't have to go really deep here. It's kind of that superficial layer right beneath the skin. And if you prefer to drag the skin down rather than pinch, then feel free. But however you want to just gently massage this area to invite in it to let go, to release tension. While you massage through here, coming back to that nice deep breath. Letting everything else go. And then try to get its attachment up near the ear, the base of the head, all the way down towards the clavicle. So you're really covering the entire side of the neck if possible. And still taking those nice deep breaths. After you've done a few rounds, I'm going to just keep going a little deeper. So for this one, you'll need both hands. Take your right hand across the body and kind of pin the tissue near the collarbone down and then just gently pull it down. So you have this gentle sensation of stretch to the left side of the neck just by doing that. But then we're going to also add in a massage. So taking your left knuckles and just right there kind of under the chin, you're going to glide the knuckles up towards the ear as you gently roll your head towards the right or the chin towards the right shoulder. And then lift the hand back up, come back to the starting point, and again, just gently massage through the side of the neck using just this flat part of the hand. And again, try to cover as much area as you can. Obviously being tender when you get to the front of the neck, not pushing too deeply. And getting behind the ear. And again, after a couple, just let the hands rest in the lap. We're going to do a little bit of a spiral release. So let your right chin come towards let your chin come to your right shoulder. But then let your eyes look over towards the left. So you feel this gentle kind of spiral. The chin and head are going in one direction, but the eyesight is pulling in the other. And take just 3 deep breaths here. And one more deep breath. And then release. Gently bring the head back to center. And again, either closing the eyes or just softening the gaze. And notice what you feel that's different between the left side of the neck and the right. Perhaps maybe there's just more awareness as we've kind of brought in that awareness to the tissues with the massage. Maybe it actually feels a little looser or less tense already. Pausing to notice is also a super powerful way to really bring us back into our bodies so we can be more aware of the sensations within them and how to work with that. And I'm going to invite you just to switch your legs out, just so evening that out a little bit. And we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So just gently pull your chin over towards the left shoulder, enough that you can kind of feel the ropey tissue of the SCM going down the side of the neck. And again, just a gentle kind of pinching massage from the top towards the bottom. Just trying to release all of this tight tissue. And again, being gentle about it. Often with myofascial release, less is more. So not feeling like we have to dig in or invoke pain in any way, but really just stimulating this fascia, this tissue to rehydrate, to glide smoothly beneath the skin layer and the deeper layers. Let go of that tension and that stress. Keep coming back to your breath. And after you've completed a few rounds, we're going to use both hands to go a little deeper. So taking the left hand kind of right above the collarbone there, gently pull the tissue down. So I'm kind of pushing in and then down, just kind of dragging the skin down. So you already have a little bit of a skin stretch sensation there on the neck. And then again, using the flat part of the hands underneath the knuckle, gently guide the skin up as you turn the head in the opposite direction. Being really gentle here, not having to push too hard, enough to have a little bit of sensation. Also being really loving and kind to these very gentle neck muscles, right beneath the skin layer. Not pushing too hard, especially when the hand is towards the front of the neck, just really using that common sense there. When you feel comfortable with the movement, I invite you to come back to that nice deep breath and that sense of simply noticing. And after you've done a few, just letting the hands come to rest in the lap. If your eyes were closed, I invite you just to open them so we can get into the spiral release. Let your chin come over towards the left, and then let your eyes look over towards the right. And let's take 3 deep breaths together. And then release, bring everything back through center. If it feels okay, again, closing the eyes, and just simply notice how your neck feels now versus when you first arrived on your mat a few moments ago. And just taking those nice deep breaths. Another powerful, sorry, move the cat. Another thing that can pull, even though it's further away, is the respiratory system and its attachments in the upper body through pec minor, attaches at the collarbone. So just imagine the gentle tugging. So the breathing also can give us that nice release. But we're going to come into the jaw now specifically. So for this, you'll either need a blanket that's kind of rolled, so it's about the size of a foam roller, not a foam roller, sorry, a foam block. Or if you don't have that, just use a yoga block. I find the blanket can just be a little softer if you're looking for more restorative, and especially if you're using a cork or wood block, just have a blanket on top of that can be really helpful. But we're going to actually come to lay down on our left side. Now, when you come to lay down, we're not going to place the ball like right in the cheek. In fact, we're going to place the head on the blanket with the ball just slightly in front of us, and the ball will be more like a kickstand holding the cheek in place. So go ahead and come to lay down on your side, and then lean your head back. Make sure you have enough blanket or block behind you that you can kind of roll onto the back of your head. You're going to take the ball and you're going to just kind of put it right there against the cheek. And then as you come down, I still have the back of my head on my blanket, so I don't have all of the weight on the ball, which would be very uncomfortable. But it's just there catching underneath the cheek. Now, if this is already really tender, I invite you just to stay here, not add in any movement, and just breathe. If you want a little bit more, though, what can be really nice, and again, I invite you to do this very slowly, is just to open and close the mouth. And that gentle movement is going to massage all around the jaw and the cheek in this vicinity. So find what works for you. Maybe it's staying still, especially if there's a lot of pain or if it's really tender. We're working through our therapeutics or more preventative. It might be nice to add in a little bit of movement. But again, listen to your body. Even day to day, that can change. And if you're staying still, I invite you to really focus on the breath. And if you're opening and closing the mouth, really tap into what that feels like. Just really allowing yourself to be observant. And in whatever capacity that means for you. Now, if you were opening and closing the mouth, I invite you to come back into stillness. And just take a few deep breaths. Now, if you're getting extra feedback, this is an area that feels maybe was really tight at first, but the longer you're lingering, you can feel the jaw softening and melting. This one's really great for the grinders and clinchers of the jaw out there. I invite you to linger here if you like, if that feels really good, or pause the video and stay. Just for time's sake, I'm going to invite us to slowly move on. So let's take 3 more deep breaths here together. And then go ahead and release. If you're already laying on your block, then you're already setting up for the next one. If you had a blanket like me, go ahead and grab a block. We're going to place the block on its mid setting, and you're going to place it where you're just right above the ear. So if it's kind of unfamiliar for you, I invite you to just kind of palpate along with me. Right above your earlobe, you'll feel this bone with a little bit of soft tissue around it. So that's really where we're going to place it. So the side of the head will actually be off the block, and the block will be right there on that ridge of tissue near the bone, right above the earlobe. Now, if this is new, I invite you just to first let everything get heavy and kind of melt into the block. But once it feels familiar, just kind of gently rock the head forward and back right along this ridge. And keep coming back to your breath. Again, when it comes to the therapeutics, if we ever have pain, it's not always just direct looking at where the pain is, because the body is so connected in so many different ways. So looking upstream and downstream. So for our purpose today with the jaw, we're also looking at the neck. We're going to look at the side of the head like we are now, and even the back of the head and the neck. Trying to get the whole interconnected system to relax. So hopefully this one feels pretty soothing. Just keep taking those deep breaths. And slowly, if you were moving, come back into stillness. I'm going to invite you just to gently release the prop from underneath of you, and just roll into your back in a Shavasana-like pose. And just, again, notice how the left side of the jaw and the head feel versus the right. Perhaps there's a tingly or a warm sensation as the blood flows back in. Maybe even feeling less tense. Maybe the jaw feels more open, more relaxed. Whatever you notice. And then let's just switch sides. So if you were using a blanket, bring that with you. Bring your block with you. You can just roll over if you want. Have your back to me. I'm going to flip over so I don't have my back to you though. And again, come to lay down either on your block or your blanket. Make sure there's enough of the prop behind you. You can roll onto the back of the head. Taking that ball, you're going to kind of place it right in front of the cheek and the jaw. So when you come down, it's just catching as a kickstand. But the majority of the head weight is still being supported by either your blanket or your block. Not all of the weight is pushing onto that ball there. And again, come back into stillness and just breathe. Or if you want a little bit more, open and close the jaw. Just make sure the ball is placed in an area that's giving you a little bit of feedback. Nothing painful, but just something that you can notice. You may have to kind of move the head around until you find something that feels really nice to kind of nestle into, and then come to your breath. If you were moving or closing and opening the mouth, come back into stillness. Whenever you're ready, slowly remove the ball to your little blanket. Change that out for the block. And again, we're going to place that right above the ear on its mid-setting, so you're right along that ridge of bone with soft tissue. And at first, just let the head be heavy. So make sure you're not like trying to lift the head up. Find a spot that you can really soften into and let go of all of that tension. And then just gently rock the head forward and back right along that ridge. Taking nice deep breath. You were moving, just slowly bringing everything back into stillness. And again, gently remove the prop from underneath of you. Come to lay on your back, like any Shavasana pose. And again, just take a moment to notice. And then whenever you're ready, roll onto your side. And we're going to find a nice release now for the back of the neck and the back of the head. So if you don't have a blanket, this next one you're going to use blocks. But we'll want the balls to be somewhat conjoined. So placing them in a sock and then tying a knot so you can keep them conjoined. If you're using a blanket, you don't have to worry about conjoining them. We'll actually slide it underneath a layer of the blanket, so you're kind of creating a conjoined ball. So placing the balls side by side, and then just pick up the first flap you have of blanket and slide them right in the middle so they're still side by side. So you're creating kind of this conjoined ball sensation here. Now we're going to come to lay down. We're going to put the back of the neck right here on the balls. So either conjoining them in the sock and then placing that on a ball, on a block on its lowest setting, or just tucking them under the first flap of the blanket and then coming to lay down. But find a spot that feels really helpful, maybe a spot that feels really tender, and if it's still a lot of sensation, you can take the balls deeper into the blanket. So instead of one flap, maybe there's 2 or 3, so the more padding you have, the more gentle this can become. For the lower body, I invite you to come into constructive breath. So feet a little wide, and then let the knees kind of fall in towards one another so the lower body can just relax. Notice, though, with this, release the back of the neck if you've brought in any more tension back into the jaw, the neck, or the shoulders, and just see if you can't kind of soften that and let that go. And you can be anywhere along the back of the neck. If it feels close, if it feels better to be closer to the head or closer towards the body or right in the middle, find a spot that you can really soften and relax into. And once you find that nice yummy spot, come right back to your breath. Notice too, as you are lingering here, you are clenching the jaw. And come back to that sense of relaxing, softening through the tongue, softening through the jaw and the chin. And maybe it's something you have to keep reminding yourself to stop clenching and do that as many times as you need for your practice. Perhaps it's unlearning a habit. people, sitting in silence and breathing can be quite difficult. Our mind constantly wants to be busy. So maybe it helps to count the breath and to keep noticing like an observer the breath. So let's take 3 more breaths here together. Slowly just lift your head enough that you can slide the prop out, lay the head flat onto the floor, and again, take a moment just to notice. And we have one more area to release. So for this one, you will need a yoga block. We're going to place it on its mid setting, and we're going to release through the occipital bone on the back, and specifically the muscle bundles that attach the back of the shoulders to the back of the head, so running along the back of the neck. So then lift your head up. You're going to slide that block right underneath the back of the head. Now, you'll notice the neck is free. There's nothing underneath the back of the neck. And this ridge of block on its mid-setting is right along kind of the horseshoe-like shape of the back of the head. So if that's new to you, maybe sit up for a moment, kind of palpate, feel the bone at the back of the head. If you're a lady and you ever wear a headband, like one of those fabric headbands, kind of where the back of the headband lies is where we're going, or a baseball hat, where the back of the baseball hat, in that general vicinity. And then let your head be heavy. So if you feel like you're holding any tension through the head or the neck, let all of that soften, let all of that go. Let the block support your head. And then without lifting your head, so keep it really heavy, let your head just gently start to come over towards the right. Now as you move really slowly, hopefully you'll feel this little bump or bundle of muscle tissue. That's where we're going to stay. So when you feel that bump, stay there. And then just your nose, gently move your nose in a circular motion. So you're massaging or a mild pressure releasing this bundle of muscle tissue at its anchor connection with the occipital bone. If you were moving, just coming right back into stillness. Again, without lifting your head, slowly let your head come back in. And then same thing towards the left. So moving slow enough, you can identify that bump. And if you can't really find it, it's about halfway from being all the way up the side of the head towards the center. So in that general vicinity. And again, just moving the nose in that circular motion. gently just reach back and as lazily as you can remove your props. Let your head come fully flat onto the floor, and again, just notice. Feeling more relaxed. Taking your time, however you'd like to get there into a seated shape. Once you have time for shavasana, and would prefer to take a shavasana. Once you come back to your seat where we began our practice, take a couple moments to notice how everything from the shoulders up feels now versus when you versus hello. As you come into that seated shape. And once you have come up from there and into the seated shape you began your practice with, take a moment to simply notice how you feel from the shoulders up. Hopefully feeling less tense, specifically through the jaw, neck, and head. And with that, I want to thank you for sharing your practice space with me. And until next time, be well.